banks folding at the instructions of ordinary people who call themselves government officials. They tell them freeze people's accounts, and they do that without questioning, without seeking a court order. And we need to dismantle that culture. For us, it means that we don't want to get fed by the government. And I would like to make this point that the governor of the CBN, who instructed us to get this account be frozen, has not changed anything. He has made us only determined. I am not afraid of him. He has desecrated the institution. If I meet him anywhere, whether in Nigeria or outside, I'll let him know he's a shameless person. And I encourage Nigerians to extend the same courtesy to him anywhere. I feel like we need to teach the Nigerian public to give no room to oppressive leaders in our public spaces. When you see them in churches, you boo them. When you see them in mosques, you extend that same courtesy to them. And these are the ways we think we're making change happen, and we think that's like the framework for an engaged electorate as well.
Thank you so much, Adeomi. Powerful points there. The first one was defining a common challenge. The second, defending institutions. And the third, dismantling the culture of respect. I'm going to throw a question to all of our participants if I bring Indy on. What is the common challenge that you think we can all tackle together? Right, so that's going to be my final question to my panelists, but I want to hear from you first. I'll be taking some of the most exciting comments, so please start leaving them in the chat right now. Over to you, Indy. How are you in the work that you do every day, emerging an empowered and engaged electorate?
Hi, Chairman. This is to confirm you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, my dear.
Okay, so the background for my work is very, very clear. I come from a place that is crisis-ridden. Before I was born, people there have been killed and they're still being killed. And I remember trying to find solutions for that. And then trying to find solutions, I thought, wow, why is it that those of us who are providing relief, because of course, Southern Kaduna crisis and other crisis in the Middle Belt gets next to no attention, the international attention, relief materials, all of that hardly come this way. So providing that solution and trying to see how we can stop the killings in this area and make farming and existing as Nigerians safe for people where I come from, I thought to myself, why is it that those of us who are providing solutions, who are trying to create safety, why are we not the ones in leadership? Why have we not been elected? Why haven't we come forward to get elected? And I found out that people who really cared where I come from didn't want to run for office. There was a kind of disconnect from that. And then the other funny part was that the people who are being governed, who are the victims of this brutality, had separated something. They had kept the people who provide solutions for their problems, people who come to them when they have been attacked, people who speak out loudly. They kept them in one side. These are our solution providers. And then on the other side of things, they kept the politicians. And the conversations around politicians were useless thieves. They don't do anything. They are not here for us. But none of those conversations united to say, these people are not doing anything, and so we must eat them out. And these groups are doing something. We must ensure they come together. So there's a fundamental problem. The act of leadership has been separated from the political system. The act of actually delivering what it is you were sent there to do has been separated from the electoral, from the political system. And that is a fundamental problem. That if you go to my village, they tell you, this man is an idiot, he's a thief, but this is his time. And I'm sure this is not limited to Southern Kaduna. It's a problem that, we have found everywhere, literally. So I set out to say, you know what, I'm going to try to run for office. And of course, to cut this story short, the baptism of fire that happened around that time, I saw it in real time. I was told that, look, in this battle, if I say you are the best candidate, but it's not your time. Number one, you're young, and so you have to wait. The person that is about entering, we don't really like him, we have all of these issues with him, but he has been here for a very long period of time. There was also the advice at the time, I think it was Governor Mimiko, that told me, look for a smaller party. It's going to cut down the issue you're facing with respect to partisan, the two main parties, and difficult to get. Because within that party, I was also told that this person has been in this party since '99, and therefore we are going to give him the ticket. So we are not going to forget the major issue that would, of course, keep you out of this, and this is my gender. Of course, in the time of providing all of these solutions, my gender was not brought before. So from this experience, we realized that there are key things. Young people are kept out of politics. People who actually want to get things done cannot play the kind of politics that is contained within the Nigerian system. And then number three, women, which is really the biggest part of it, is being told that, look, you're cute, you've done all of this work, we like you, but you're a woman, you're not going to get this. In fact, just come around, perhaps when you're done, you'll get ethics. So from this, we decided, look, we're going to take our work and try to break this barrier. So what have we been doing, which brings me to that? It is education. Number one, we have to let women know. We have to let women know that they belong in this space. Why do you think we have to let women know? It's not that women just wake up and decide they don't want political participation. It's socialization to not want to even belong in this space. Right from childhood, you have been told time and again, you have to just be comfortable enough to contribute to your husband's house, not belong in this leadership place. But where I come from, literally, women in Southern Kaduna are actually the people who provide for home. And this is not to say that men are not doing enough. It's just a system. When there's so much violence comes to a certain gender most times. Because men the war front, people die, and women end up having homes. Because of this, over time, women in Southern Kaduna have actually been on equal ground in terms of providing for the homes, in terms of taking care of society, but still are not let into this space. So letting women know that they belong in this space has been very important to work with what the Solidarity Foundation. Now, apart from letting women know, it's also to fight, because part of the work we also do is to ensure that these policies and these laws are passed to meet people halfway. So you have to educate them on one way, and this is part of what Adeomi was saying, because when I was looking at the conversation around now, 2023, we must face 2023, this is literally the part where I was after a certain level of activism, and I looked at the public, you know what, the next thing to do is go into these elections, and when you go into these elections the way we're rushing, you will meet the biggest heartbreak there. You will meet the biggest heartbreak there, because it's not like you're going to go there with all of our great ideas and you're just meeting the welcome down, like, yes, great, we are waiting for you, we have always been waiting, and we're going to get this thing done with you. No, it's not going to be like that. Still going to be moving people at the rural area who do not understand, who have the forced leadership from the process. We're going to meet people who don't know what is happening yet. And these are people, you will go there with a savior complex, which is what most of us actually have, a savior complex, the elitist conversation. You go there, people are not there yet. I would also borrow from what Gemi Adamu said. Most times we think that they engage an electorate will also be people on a certain level. No, even amongst us, talk to your friends outside of civic circles, see how bad it is. People do not know and they're not concerned. And so it is for this that we need to keep teaching. It is for this that we need to help create these laws. These laws.
Okay, I think we've just lost Indy there while we try to get her back.
On one hand, we need people halfway.
Okay, Indy, I'm just going to, sorry to cut you short there. I'm going to get, yes, you cut up for a minute. I'm going to use that opportunity to just read out some of the comments that have come in. Ade Dolapo says, the common challenge is greed, no consensus amongst our technocrats. This was evident in the last election where they couldn't rally around a single candidate. Ulime Abasi says, the fact remains, we know the problems, they're existent and have been here for a couple of years. What we need now is action, action, action. You didn't tell us what to do. Chisom Asita says, another point we should look into is the problem of lack of orientation of our people, mostly the streets and the low class. Most don't know their rights. People don't even know what to demand from government. The National Orientation Agency has failed totally. That's if it even exists. We need grassroots orientation. And I'll take a final one, which says, from the SIDOU, he says, common challenge, every institution should be both accountable and functional, both elected and appointed. I mean, all public and civil servants. Imagine if public service works like the private institutions, like banks, oil and gas organizations, etc. Thank you so much for those comments. I'm going to come back to my panel now and ask my final question to all of you. The final question in 30 seconds. What should we do next? And I'm going to start with Adeomi. What should we do next? 30 seconds. You're muted, Adeomi. What should we do next? 30 seconds, please.
I think the path is very clear to us right now. We have shifted the culture. We cannot afford to stop. The government is responding with fear by clamping down. They are trying to create a situation that keeps us at home, and we can't really tough. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about. If you see the actions over the last couple of days, the seizure of passports, the clampdown on accounts of people, the secretive arrest of active participants in the protest, it shows that the government is really afraid. I just feel like we need to take this conversation forward. We cannot find something to protest about, find something to be angry about. We do not have enough jail cells. The government would lose legitimacy before we do, and we just need to keep pushing.
Thank you so much, Adeomi. Find something to be angry about, find something to protest about. I'm going to come to you, Dr. Usman. What should we do in 30 seconds?
I think the
Dr.
great
Usman?
challenge,
Yes, sir. Go on, sir.
the great challenge is the leadership recruitment mechanism that has become flawed. Until we address it, attack it, and find a better mechanism for a selection of leadership, we are going to be stuck with the problems we are complaining. So I would rather we go straight to changing this mechanism. And the way to do it is to get a platform where we can put in a number of us that are worried and concerned about this country. And I know we cannot be less than 5% of the population, which is 10 million, come together and create our own political party, or take over willing and existing political party, change the political platform, change the political process, and then contest with these people who are killing this country. I think it's doable and it should be done. Simple and
Thank you
straightforward.
so much. Thank you. That's really just hit the nail on the head. My final panelist, Indy, certainly not the least, 30 seconds. Where do we go from here? What do we do?
Recruit and educate. We need more people in this space. We need as many more. And it's a fertile ground right now. There's so many people who want to know more. And I think we should just be on that right now. Recruit as many, educate them, prepare them for that which they want. Many people are asking questions. It is fertile ground. We must educate as many of them to set them on the path of what it is they want to carry on. And basically, that is again active political participation. It's not just inside political parties, outside of it, civic engagement, anything. Just keep recruiting, because if we're not recruiting, they are recruiting, and that's the problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If we're not recruiting, they're recruiting. And I think it's, this is a great point, great place to wrap up this panel. Also to mention that the Fix Politics Initiative is one of the excellent ways, actually the visionary of this movement, and Dr. Obieze Fasili, the drive to recruit and educate, because if we're not doing that, then other people are doing that. Thank you so mumuch, Dr. Usman Bugaje, Indi Kato, and Adewumi Omora for being such exciting guests on this panel this afternoon. It is now my pleasure and my singular honor to invite to thrill us. I don't know if the word is thrill today, or to inspire us with his brilliance and with his artistic genius, the one, the only Jude Abaga, MI, Mr. Incredible, Chairman. I could go on and on. Everyone, I give you MI.
Hi everyone, Chioma. Wow, what an introduction! I should hire you to like follow me around.
You should, man. You should.
It's such an honor to be among such a distinguished, group of people, but also for such an honorable cause. And as we work through all the technical difficulties and trying to figure this out, I want to share some words. I'm a rapper, and so when it boils down to it, without the music, it's the words. I want to share some words with you guys. It's taken from 2 songs that I have, and I'm merging them together just to share with you guys. So please enjoy. You see, freedom isn't free. It's vision we must stand guard to defend. Its weaknesses amend and apprehend those foes who seek its end. Regurgitate the urge to hate and must not dominate our streets. The right to peace, a light that must not cease, requires we fight this beast. From the dreams of Martin Luther, youth are reaping freedom's glory, and Mandela, Sellers, tell us, compel us to share the story of slaves and graves, of apartheid and those who died disgraced, of nations impatient for independence who freedom embraced. See, what our politics is and was is a product of all that was, from cultures of terror and fear, where freedom was never declared, but better prepared, our future better and clear. We maintain that let forever freedom remain and liberty reign. And that's when I realized we're epic. So go tell the oppressor, tell them MI said it, send them the fax, send an email, send it via FedEx. We are our own tomorrow. We can't be ruled by relics. It's time for our heroes. It's time for us to be movie stars. It's time for MI to return back to his loopy bars. See, this is our dilemma. It's time for success to be ours. The ship is sinking fast, so able bodies to the oars. If we don't bring the change, things will stay the way they is. We say we're scared to die, but we're really scared to live. But this is battle time, so all you have, prepare to give. And we are not alone. Destiny is coming with. Nothing is given freely. But we can live ideally if we can seize the moment and own it with the proponent. It takes a moment, but then I hope you get it. The world's been waiting on us. We're epic. And we all have to play a great part. See, even Braveheart had a late start. And every great artist will make fake art until that moment they realize just who they are. And we are like movie stars, though we're unaware of the real purpose of the why we're here. We're staring up into the sky, trying to dry our tears, waiting on a hero for a light to appear. But what the message is that it's really you, meant to change the situation that we're living through. You're the change, you're the hope, you're the miracle. And you are all the strength you need in times unbearable. See, nothing is given freely, but we will live ideally because we'll seize the moment and own it and be the proponent. It took a moment, but now I get it. The world's been waiting on us for fixed politics, for every single one of us, for everybody on this call to rise up and demand and protest and scream as loud as you can to support, to fundraise, to do whatever it takes to be epic. It's time for change. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the program.
If this was an event where it was physical, I would have said a big, massive round of applause for our very dear own MI, Mr. Incredible Judah Berger. So we move on from there, and please let me welcome, she is currently co-founder and board member of Teach for Nigeria, co-founder and trustee of the Education Reform and Innovation Team, ERIT, chair of Slum to School Africa, chair and co-founder Imaginal Education Initiative, and co-chair for the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, SPPG, which is a critical arm of the Fixed Politics Initiative. So let me welcome Alero Aida Otobo.
Thank you very much, Kayode, for that warm introduction. Thank you. I'm just so excited and such a pleasure to be part of this amazing launch of what we've all been waiting for, fixing politics. I am currently the co-chair, one of the co-chairs, and managing segment 3. So it's my pleasure to welcome you to Emerging a New Value-Based Political Class. It is often said that everything rises and falls on leadership. We can lead in black or white, or we can lead in full color. So my question to you, what color is your leadership? What color is our politics? And now, watch and see what color our politics is.
of 7 leaders. School is built on the premise of the core values of fixed politics. Maintained, we have been told, without number, that Nigeria has potential. When are we going to move from this waiting and hoping and believing to really becoming that which we are meant to be? When will Nigeria come into the fullness of our strength? And in the full glory of our rich diversity, where everyone, regardless of gender, geography, generation, and ability, has an equal stake in this green land called Nigeria. That ambition is the quality of leadership, the facts of the people who run the affairs of our country at national and subnational levels matter. We believe now is the time for business unusual, to look at an old problem in a new way, through solutions lens. Is the Unconventional School of Politics, Policy, and Governance, SPPG. The school is built on the premise of the mission of fixed politics. The mission is to elevate the office of the citizen to its rightful place in our nation and develop a political class of 7 leaders. The school is built on the premise of the core values of fixed politics: fearlessness, inclusivity, resilience, education, service, and justice. As we begin to fix our politics, SPPG will attract, develop, and produce a new generation of political leaders who will listen and serve an emerging class of citizens who know their rights. Our mandate is to build a pipeline of a new and disruptive thinking political class. They will be 21st century politicians known for their values-driven character, unquestionable competence, undeniable capacity, passion for this country, Nigeria. SPPG is open to citizens who aspire to become leaders in society. The program is delivered as a mix of online and in-person courses. Some of the universal modules in the SPPG course curriculum include governance and institutions, ethics and governance, public financial management 101, strategic thinking, political science 101, political governance, executing strategy for results, leadership 201, theory and practice of disruption. Some of the Nigerian-focused modules include history of Nigeria, state capture, corruption, and fragility, understanding the Nigerian Constitution, federalism 101, and new social contract, the science of Nigerian innovation, constitution and resolution, electoral processes in Nigeria, modeling and economic development strategy for Nigeria, community renewal and transformation. There is hope for Nigeria to reach her full potential, and Nigeria is possible in our lifetime. We can build on what exists to have people out of the power. Functions made on time. With disabilities having a voice in the political arena. Who functionally wants this respect? Rapidly growing industrial sector. Nigerian flag that we're proud to fly. Someday, we will have that Nigeria where everybody can become somebody without knowing anybody. On this journey towards a new Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Apologies for the poor sound, but I want everyone hearing the sound of my voice to make a promise. When we load this on YouTube, when we upload it, go there and watch it, because it's important for you to understand how unconventional our School of Politics, Policy, and Governance is going to be. And what was highlighted, and I hope you saw the richness of the content of our curriculum, We have curriculum that's going to focus on what we call the universal modules, and the ones focused on Nigeria that will address the problems of Nigeria. Every one of our alumni will know what to do when they graduate from our School of Politics, Policy and Governance. I would like Kayode just to highlight a few points that I think it's key that we understand before we move to the panel discussion. Kayode, can I please have those few slides? Because I want you to understand the next steps.
All right. The slide will be coming in just a minute. So you can go ahead and talk around it while.
I just want you to understand that our faculty, we've got an amazing faculty, national and international. We've got great partnership from a leading school of governance in Germany, the Hertie School of Governance. We have an amazing local partnership with Lagos Business School. And we're going to have practitioners, those who have run for elections, those that failed and the lessons they've learned, and those that have succeeded. So you're going to have a wonderful combination of faculty. And then also what is unique to the Unconventional School of Politics, Policy and Governance is that we have a franchise model. Every one of our graduates, every one of our alumni is going to receive a teaching package, and they're going to be able to do one thing. They're going to teach what they've learned to people in their community. They're going to engage with the electorate. They're going to be able to pass on the knowledge and share what they have learned and activate and empower members of their community. And that is so important. You've got to be able to set up your own mini SPPG in your local level, in your local community, in your local government area. And then finally, what are the next steps? You can go online, www.fixpolitics.org, and what you can do is request for a prospectus. Complete the form that you're going to see there, ask for the prospectus, and we'll engage with you immediately. You'll get a prospectus, and then we have a process where we can apply by application or by invitation. There are people that want to see at the local level, grassroots, that will invite to be part of it. And 70% of the school is online, and 30% is going to be localized in various centers nationwide. This was the presentation, renowned international franchise model. And I'd just like to focus on the last slide, the very last one. Go to our website. Yeah, this is it. Step 1, apply and be chosen to change the political and economic landscape. Complete a simple form, request for prospectus. And then the third step is we'll engage with you, and by invitation and application, you can join us for 6 months, 500 wonderful dynamic people, 250 dynamic young people, nation builders, and 250 women. We are going to be focusing on those that are the next generation, below 37, and those that are women. And then we'll have a small group for those over 37. And on that note, Amina, over to you. You're going to have an amazing time with our panel. Thank you, Amina.
Many thanks indeed, my sister girl.
Thank you.
And thank you so very much, dear colleagues, for the excellent comments and the energy and excitement around the school. The glitch with the video was not enough to stop you. You know, it's like we say in Nigeria, when you're handed pepper, you make pepper soup. It doesn't stop you. And we know this is a marathon and not a sprint anywhere. Welcome from whatever part of the world you are in to this very important moment of power, purpose, and politics. We have a very strong panel for the next 15 minutes because time is spent, so we're just going to be having a conversation for the next 15 minutes. We've got a 3+1 panel, and you're going to be meeting the +1 after you have met the 3 on the panel. We have today my sister and my colleague in the women's movement, Cynthia Mbamalu, Program Team Lead with Yoga Africa. Also on the panel this afternoon is a brother and a friend, Ini Aboyechi, who is actually a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader. A third colleague was meant to join us, and we're hoping he still can, but he did send in word to say that he might be on his way to Kaduna now. As you might have heard the sad news of the passing away of the former governor of Kaduna and a very, very strong pillar of democracy in Nigeria. He had to go to Kaduna for the burial of our big brother from Nicolai, like we call him. And we pray that Allah rest his soul in Jannah. If he's able to join us, we will still accommodate him as much as possible. But at the age of 84, our big brother, Balarigo Musa, is no longer with us. So, distinguished colleagues, let me begin with Ini Aboyechi. This panel is actually around looking at a new value-based leadership. And Ini, as the co-founder of Future Africa, has been very concerned about curating a critical successor generation that is strong, that actually has access to capital, that is innovative, and is able to build and raise a strong community. Here we are trying to start what we call an unconventional school of politics, policy, and governance. My brother Ini, we have been told that in this country we have youth 1 and we have youth 2, but as far as we are concerned, they're all both victims of a system that is excluding their voice. As we start this journey of the SPPG as an unconventional beginning, how should we begin to think about building that critical community? Practical ideas, Ini. You have 3 minutes.
Sure, thank you very much for having me on here today and for this amazing conversation. I believe that there are many layers to building a community that can push for the right kind of political change in our society. And most importantly, allows us to build a society that works for everybody. Because at the end of the day, if your society is sick, it doesn't matter how rich or privileged you are at risk, as we saw during the aftermath of the protests. You know, the government could send instigators into the crowd. Politicians could send instigators into the crowd and create trouble because we're having close ranks on the extreme wealth inequality that exists in our society today. And my belief is that it actually still beholds on business leaders like myself, young business leaders and perhaps older business leaders, to move away from a system that has, prior to now, predicated itself on this idea that we exist in business to just make money, but now start to move towards a more socially responsible model of doing business that enables us to be able to close our social and economic gaps. Now, the truth of the matter is the business that I do provides jobs for people. It doesn't just make me money. But more importantly, I think there has to be a recognition from the business community that beyond the investments that we're making into the country and the jobs that we're creating in the country, there is a need for us to become more vocal about policies that would enable us to be able to do even more. So business leaders have been missing in the conversation for too long. And I think there is a need for us to bring them back into the conversation so that they can be, as responsible guardians of the economy, encourage the right kind of policies that would enable us to create a more prosperous society for all of us.
Thank you very much. 3 minutes on the dot. Thank you. And I'm going to be returning to you later to follow up on the dimension of business that you raised. Because one of the things that was said in the last panel was about how we raise our resources. And the School of Politics and Policy and Governance is also trying to think about how we can create honest sources of resources for people who would run for office. There are new ways now of raising resources, crowdfunding, for example, and you are part of the team around Andela and Flutterwave. And I'm going to be coming back to ask you exactly what is the shape of money looking like as far as politics is concerned, and what should we be looking out for in our school, SPPG. Let me come to my sister, Cynthia, who has been in the forefront of organizing, of ensuring that young people have a voice in terms of the Not Too Young to Run, but also Ready to Run campaign. And the color of that campaign right now is looking like it is very male-centric. So every time we talk about youth, we seem to have the assumption that youth does not consist of two categories, women and men, young women and men. The assumption is that, oh, maybe it is all men, young men. But we know that women are also young. If we're thinking about a critical successor generation, and one of the comments earlier in the box talked about creating a coalition for change. The color of that coalition has to be one that looks at geography, that looks at generation, that looks at disability, as well as class. Where are young women in the movement towards 2023? And what should we be mindful of in SPPG? You have the floor, Cynthia.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be part of this great conversation at this very important time. And I think I will start with first stating that values are deep-rooted, that it informs our emotions, it informs our actions, and in fixing politics, we must ensure that at the very core is what values we want to promote. And that for me would lead to the conversation around what is the generational pipeline. And the first point for me is the need to intentionally invest in building decentralized leadership that promotes gender equality and diversity, because it must begin at that point of leadership. And I would just draw examples from movements, like you mentioned, the Not Too Young to Run. And then also I would look at even the EndSARS movement, because within this movement, we actually saw women playing an important role, mobilizing young people to the street and providing support to the movement. So what are we learning from that? What are we learning from, be it the EndSARS, be it not? I think the challenge with Not Too Young to Run was the fact that it had to do with the political system. And it was one thing to have women at the leadership team for the movement. It was another thing to have the political system favor young women who were candidates in the election. So it was then beyond the movement at that point, but the question of the political system that did not favor inclusion. And that connects with the conversation around ensuring a diverse and gender inclusive leadership. We can no longer operate with the obsolete structure that political parties are currently operating, because what we have is a system that is male-dominated and excludes diverse voices, and we expect this system to produce automatically responses or outcomes that would inform participation. And for me, the next part around this is beyond just having a decentralized system, that the individuals who lead within the movement, be it women, young men, that we are intentional in promoting the agenda of this diverse group. Because if we cannot promote this agenda, if we cannot promote the faces of the leaders of the movement that shows diversity and reflects society, it will be a major challenge for us in building that difference in generation. So that for me is very key. So if you take, for instance, within the EndSARS movement, we saw young women who provided legal services, who were leading voices in their community. But we also saw diversity in the sense that, be it at the rural or urban area, every young person felt they were part of the movement, that they were leaders, and they were accountable for the success of the movement. So that is the first point, decentralized for me. The second point for me is mobilizing around shared purpose. And because in talking around fixing politics, we must ensure that every one of us connects with the purpose. Not just the purpose, but that the movement itself is targeted towards the purpose. And that is one, an inclusive society that truly meets the needs of these people. And that for me is the point of commencement, that we have a shared purpose. And why is this important? Because one, our shared purpose is what directs us to our goal, and it must intersect with common good. Because if it doesn't intersect with common good, the generality of the population wouldn't connect with the essence of that. And I'll move straightly to beyond our mobilizing around shared purpose and what that big picture is for us, which is a Nigeria that is truly inclusive, is around building an identity that truly reflects our core values, one, and that truly communicates our message. Now, why is this important? Because like I said, we cannot have a political system that is value neutral. That cannot work. It seems to have been existing, but obviously it is failing us.
So we need to change the discourse. We need to change the conversation. And the importance of that value and building a system that is not value neutral, because when you're driven by values, whoever meets you will understand what you're dealing with. And that is because politics is about a game of number. And my last point is the fact that in fixing politics, why we cannot no longer be value neutral is because our values define our politics, and our politics informs the kind of leaders who emerge. And gender inclusivity and equality must be at the core. Thank you.
Very well, point well made, my sister Cynthia. Before I return to E, because I'm not sure if Dr. Hakeem Bab Ahmed has been able to join us. But before I return to E, I would like to pose the question to the distinguished colleagues who have joined us today from all parts of the world. A lot of the time we look at values as if they're normatively good, but we know that some values can be very poor, very bad. Can you share with us some values that resonate with you, that you think the unconventional school of politics, policy, and governance should prioritize? Just mention the value that you think really matters to you, so that we're already working with you at the design stage and we're collecting your thoughts. My brother Ini, let me return to you. Timi said in the chat that actually the older generation of captains of industry are kind of like complacent, but the younger generation are not even looking in the direction of politics at all. I want you to tie that to what you have said earlier about the fact that we need to look at that triple helix of government, civil society, and private sector in terms of the work that we're trying to do, but also look at the way in which we're raising resources. How do we incentivize the private sector, and how do we raise the resources for the work we need to do? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that great question. I think, first of all, I want to challenge the impression that the younger generation isn't looking in the direction of politics at all. I think it's a mistaken conception. I tell you, in the last election, many of us backed third-party candidates, and so many of us are politically active. We might not necessarily be out there in front of the protest because we have a lot of work to do. But the reality of the matter is that we're all politically active in our own ways, and we do donate generously into politics. I do, as a matter of fact, and I know many of my colleagues who do. But that said, I think that it's very important to understand that there's certainly now settled arguments about the way the world works. One of those arguments is that government control of the economy is always going to be disastrous. And I think we've watched that play out in our country over the last 4 or 5 years, over the last couple of years, really, since the current administration, which is extremely statist, took over government, right? Companies set up here and there, but no growth, no employment, no innovation, heavy-handed regulation, a lot of politically motivated appointments, and as a result, our economy is suffering for it. And so, from the business community, what we require from politicians in this new dispensation is an acknowledgement of the fact that statist control of the economy has failed, and a commitment to deregulating the economy so that we private sector people are able to come in, invest resources, create jobs, and have an economy. If there is a solid mandate in that direction, I believe that most of us in the private sector will be compelled to support that consensus. And then we would look at it the way we look at investments, right? Can we invest in a change of perspective in the Nigerian government such that we're no longer focused on statist approaches that have failed since the Soviet Union, and we're now focused on a free market, or at least a regulated market, to the extent that that is possible, that ensures that everybody has social equality, but at the same time gives people agency within the economy.
Many thanks indeed, Ian. My sister Cynthia, let me come to you, and this is going to be my final question to you, because you did very well. You took all the questions together in one go. What do you think we need to pay attention to at SPPG if we're thinking about creating a critical successor generation that we take the next milestone of 2023 and beyond seriously? Practical ideas.
And practical ideas, I think in the recruitment process, we need to ensure that whoever we're identifying as we are building capacities to deploy them to the political space, that these individuals must have the three C's that we've been emphasizing: capacity, competence, and character. Character is key to me. And then looking at key values. What values are you looking at? People who understand the importance of responsible leadership, who understand that leadership is service, people who understand integrity as a core that defines us whatever we do, people who are ready to ensure that equality and inclusion is what they are driven by across board. So I believe that for every programming on leadership recruitment, we must define what our values are. Like you said, it could be bad or good values. We want values that truly would promote a system that reflects who we are as a people and that can take Nigeria to where it ought to be. Like Mahatma Gandhi would say, you cannot have politics without principles. That is one of the 7 things. So we cannot have politics without principles. And political action must result in good and action for all.
Absolutely. And thank you so very much for your powerful participation, dear participants. Someone actually said clean drinking water was the value that mattered to them. Well, all answers are correct, but there have been so many powerful ideas that you have thrown up. And as I move to introduce our +1 panelists, I'm going to set the colleagues who have joined the call another important question, because we're taking note of what you said in the chat. And that question is to ask you if there's any key resource that you think the unconventional SPPG should have on its curriculum, what would it be? It could be a book, it could be a film, it could be poetry, it could be some quotation somewhere. For example, right now, I'm loving Aisha Usobi's love does not win elections. So please also drop those kind of ideas of the kind of resources that we think we should be looking out for if our school is going to be unconventional. And to say, in summary, that our panelists today and even the colleagues that have come before this panel have made it clear that the question is not whether or not we should engage politics. The question is, how should we engage politics? How do we engage the state? How do we engage society? And we have to invest. Every one of us has to invest, and it is actually about the eye of responsibility. We can no longer pass the buck. If you think you're too do anything, try sleeping with a mosquito in your mosquito net. You're not going to have a good night's sleep. As tiny as a mosquito, like Tajid Abdurrahim said, we need to stop agonizing. We need to start organizing. And as someone said in the chat earlier, leadership is a love affair. We need to love ourselves and love other colleagues and love our country and love our fellow citizens. And as we are naming and shaming the bad people, we also should be naming and hailing the good people, because we need to also celebrate those who are doing good. You watched the documentary this morning and you saw Dr. Ebi Ezekwesili center stage. It's because she has earned that stage. Thank you very much for all the excellent ideas of thoughts that are coming into the chat, excellent resources that you're throwing up. Let me thank my sister Cynthia and my brother Ian for a very powerful and engaging panel. And now to our 3+1. We're already walking the talk. If we want to build a critical successor generation of leaders through our unconventional SPPG, then we have to give space and hand over the baton to new voices. Our 3+1 is a sensational, strong voice, a wise old young soul. She already epitomizes the fires of justice, which is actually the values of the Fixed Politics movement. Please welcome, as we segue off this panel, my darling baby sister, as Wonder Sensation teenager, Chioma Ezeugu, to take this. Chisom Ezeugu, darling Chisom, you have the floor now for your powerful words to us. We're all ears and we're listening. Welcome, Chisom Ezeugu.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for this platform. Okay, I'll just go straight ahead and give my presentation titled, Who Are You? We Are the Change We Need, and I Am New to Politics. Thank you. Who are you? Sounds familiar? This question is inevitable in the system and circumference that we are in. One time or the other, everybody has been asked. They want to know who you are, where you're from, what's your pedigree. You can't sit there. Those seats are reserved for the elite, the cream de la cream of the society. You want to do one thing or the other, you have to know a person that knows a person that is somehow related to the pioneer. Do you frequently frequent the corridors of power? And who can you call right now so we can do our jobs? I need you to see me, for what I can do, for what I can bring to the table, my potentials, my values, to grant me access without political supplements. Hear me when I talk, read what I write, give me your attention with no strings attached. That's not too much to ask, because see and part, not the same water, of the same origin, because water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at the presence of heat. It doesn't matter the color, tribe, race, gender, ethnicity, or academic status of that heat. As long as it is fire, it will boil. Don't get too comfortable. Even strawberries, not a strawberry. Let the judge and the jury pass their sentence with justice, without bias. Let the policeman stick to his oath of maintaining law and order without bias. Let the TV presenter speak facts unreservedly. Let that award be given on merit without asking the question, who are you? I am me. Happy? I am me, and yes, I am Africa, the new frontier. Count the votes as it was cast, and let the vote count. We put you in that chair. You are for the people, of the people, and by the people. You are democracy. Let us see your dividends. I am Nigeria. I am the Prince of the Vatican. I am sub-Saharan Africa, and I am rising very fast out of the dust and ashes of the past. I am Africa, a risen giant, cleaned of every filthy debris of injustice, hate, killings, nepotism, bad governance, unemployment, poverty, violence. I am the new frontier. Yes, this sleeping giant has been merged from her long overdue slumber. I am greatness, I am justice, we are the things we need. I am transparency, I am fairness, I am wisdom for good governance. I am a land overflowing with milk and honey, rich in all resources. I am a blessed nation. I am the present future. I am an overflowing river that cannot be stopped. I am a ticking time bomb. I am me. That's who I am. You are you. We are the things we need. Because at the end of the day, if you need external factors and parameters to give credence to your life and personality, you are not being true to yourself, because the best definition of you is found within you. And that is how we fix it. That is how we fix politics. When we look within, when we look inward, because we are our best shot. We are all we've got, and we are our only chance. So when next they ask you, who are you? Sarcastically, tell them, I am the me or not, and you can never be. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've got to hear you, of course. You've got a button at the bottom of your screen. You can give her a high five. You're allowed to unmute and just rave. Thank you, Dr. Abdul. I can see the ability of what you have done. Excellent job.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's present and emerging. It's not future leadership, it's emerging leadership. I have the honor, distinguished colleagues, to introduce the moderator of the next panel. This sister is a consummate professional. Every time she shares her thoughts, you listen. Passionate about education, financial inclusion, and eradicating poverty. She's got over 3 decades experience in finance and insurance, marketing, auditing, and banking. Most importantly, she's a proud Nigerian. To moderate the next segment, please welcome my sister, Ms. Bumi Lawson. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And good evening, everyone. It is indeed an honor to be here. Thank you very much. This session that we are going to discuss is about the institutions and the laws that monitor and provide oversight over the demand and supply side of the democratic system. That is the politicians and the citizens. So how do we provide oversight? Where there are no rules or governance, an unfair system that does not deliver the desires and needs of the citizens would ensue, as we have seen today. We all agree that we need reform, and this reform should be driven by the voice of the citizens. What do the citizens want? What rules and values should we live by? To discuss these issues, we have a panel of experts in all these 3 areas we're going to discuss the constitutional reform, political reform, and electoral reform. So let me quickly introduce our panel. So, is the executive director of YAGA Africa and the Not Too Young to Run campaign. Samson is a lawyer by profession and is very enthusiastic about election reform. Ayo Shogoro is also a lawyer and a public intellectual. He has done extensive work on constitutional reform. Ayo is currently a PhD student in Victoria, South Africa. And last but definitely not the least, probably needs no introduction, is Professor Atahiro Jega. He is one of Nigeria's foremost comrade and former ASU chairman. Professor Jega is the former chairman of INEC and received commendation both from Nigerians locally and globally for conducting improved elections in Nigeria twice consecutively. So, to start off this discussion, I would call on Professor Jega to give us some insights about how we can actually go about electoral reform, what areas need reform, and how can the citizens participate. Professor Jega.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. First and foremost, let me express my appreciation for being invited to participate in this very important event of Fix Politics launching. I commend Dr. Obi Ezekwesili for the initiative and the leadership and all of those associated with it. And first of all, let me say that fixing politics is a complex, multidimensional undertaking. It's very important, therefore, that we also have complex, multiple strategies of addressing all those things that need to be fixed. Secondly, I think it's important to realize that it is not the kind of fix that drug addicts have.
Happiness and so on until they get another fix. What we need is an enduring fix that can reposition our politics, that can reinvigorate our politics, and that can ensure that the end result of politics is good democratic governance. So I think it's very important that we have these issues very clear. Also, it's important to recognize that generally the struggle to bring about good politics is really a struggle between good and bad, or good and evil. Because it's not just a simple struggle of fixing, but fixing for good against the prevailing dominance of bad or evil in the ways in which our politics are conducted. So having said that, I think that since we operate an electoral democracy, or we are striving to operate an electoral democracy of primacy, that we get our elections right. And unfortunately, throughout
our striving to have a transition to democracy, we seem to have only paid lip service to the need to ensure that our elections have integrity. And it is very, very important, therefore, we focus attention on reform efforts that can ensure that our elections continue to upscale and have greater integrity, because that is the only way that we can deepen our democracy, and that is also the best way that we can have good democratic governance. Democracy or democratic governance is primarily about the choice of representatives and also a participation of the citizens in this choice. And it is very, very important, therefore, there is broader inclusivity in the processes in which representatives are chosen, and there is also remarkable transparency and accountability, as well as inclusiveness in the ways in which these representatives are chosen. Obviously, reforming elections requires improving the legal framework, but it also requires improving the capacity and competence of the election management body, not only in operating within the legal framework, but in terms of ensuring that elections are conducted efficiently and competently and effectively in terms of bringing about that integrity that is required in the elective office for people who are elected into offices. And I think we must begin with reforming the electoral legal framework. Regrettably, even though we had a major reform effort in that regard in 2010, when the Electoral Act was revised, since 2010, we have not seen serious, remarkable improvement in the electoral legal framework. And it is not only the electoral legal framework, the Constitution also needs to be reviewed. If the law, the legal framework for conducting elections does not have sufficient integrity, then obviously the elections that will be conducted under that legal
We've lost Professor Tegar there. So Samson, let me just quickly use that. You were talking about legal framework. What specific legal issues should we be looking at when we are talking about electoral reform? From your monitoring of elections and your experience there, can you share with us what are specific issues?
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to contribute to this discussion. At the Fixed Politics Electoral Reform Group, we've been working extensively on this and having several conversations, and there are about 5 core objectives. But before I actually go into that, Bumi, I think that the participants of this program need to know what I call what we need to know. The first is, as of today, what we know is we are 829 days to the 2023 elections. That's about 2 years and 3 months. The second point is we know that it is dangerous to retain the power to appoint commissioners into INEC with the president, because as we speak, the president has appointed one of his aides who is partisan and who was involved in his campaign in 2019 as a member of INEC, and that's an assault on the independence of the Electoral Commission. As for today, we know that the cost of elections is rising, but the quality of our elections are declining, not because INEC and other stakeholders are not putting efforts in the elections, but because the political class are so desperate that they want to seize political power. What we know today is you don't need to run campaigns. All you need to do is to, deploy thoughts, undermine elections, wait until you get to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court will use results from 388 polling units to supplant, the votes of people. And so what do we need? We need 5 things. 1, an electoral amendment that strengthens and protects the institution of INEC. We say financial independence has been secured by INEC. But by the Constitution, the truth is no. If you look at the report just released by INEC, as of December 2018, the government released about 42 billion for the election that was to be conducted 60 days after. So you need reforms that secures not just the operational independence of INEC, but strengthens its financial independence. The second point is around electoral impunity, that we need an electoral offenses commission. I don't know why Justice Uwe's committee recommended it, the Inamani committee recommended it. How come the political class, the politicians in the National Assembly have refused, to provide a law that establishes an electoral offenses commission. The third point is around how do you increase citizens' participation? So electronic transmission of votes, of results, electronic voting, diaspora voting. These are innovations that we need in our electoral law to open up the space for citizens to participate. And the last point is how do you foster electoral justice? It is very, very important, and it's at the heart of reforms, that this duality that exists within jurisdiction, where you have the election tribunal and then the federal high court, issuing conflicting judgments and undermining or disrupting the electoral process needs to be strengthened. We need a clear timeline for the dispensing of pre-election matters, as the case will be. So with respect to what should be the agenda for electoral reform, these are some of the issues that we need to articulate as the National Assembly is considering electoral reform. But the last point is the National Assembly needs to fast track the process because we actually are injury time with respect to electoral reforms.
Thank you very much, Samson. And I suppose one thing that citizens can do immediately is make sure that they register. So that said, we talked about the National Assembly, and I want to link that to the constitutional reform. Ayo, how do we go about constitutional reform? How do citizens participate in constitutional reform? How can their voices be heard? What should they be asking for? What should they seek to change in the constitution?
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by noting that if we agree that democratic society is hinged on these three pillars of supply, demand, and regulator, then in terms of regulator, we have a serious deficit in Nigeria. In addition to the electoral issues that Samson and Professor Jega pointed out, I also subscribe to the idea that the deficit in our democracy is significantly located in our constitution. A constitution, as the name implies, is the foundational agreement for the existence of any state. And without a legitimate constitution, there can be no true social contract. So, an ideal constitution should set out the historical basis for the state, the aspirational goals of the people, and map a path towards realizing those aspirations. However, what we have? We have a situation where Nigeria is currently under a military decree. We are literally under extended military rule, or as the people on social media will say, we're in a disguise. Because why? Our constitution was enacted in 1999 without public participation in its creation or a referendum on its adoption. And in the 20 years since its enactment, the constitution has failed to heal Nigeria of the history of colonial and military trauma. It has also failed to transform Nigeria into a fully democratic nation. Instead, the 1999 Constitution entrenches military and elitist philosophy into the structure of our government. This is evident in the highly centralized allocation of government powers, the unilateral executive control of the army and the civil services, the lack of accountability structures and institutions in the country, and the limitations on judicial enforcement of human rights. In short, it's evident in the Constitution's disregard for Nigerian life. So when you combine this with a series of supply-side leadership failures over the last 20 years, we have a situation where the 1999 Constitution has actually created a crisis of democracy. So there is a fundamental need to reform Nigeria at a constitutional level. It is not enough that we have a constitution. We must also have a constitutional democracy, and there's a difference between both. So the goal we have here under the working group 3 of fixed politics is that we want to get all Nigerians to be concerned with designing and building the road to good governance through these constitutional, political, and electoral reforms that will get us to constitutional democracy. But we cannot arrive at a destination where the road has not been built. Our destination is good governance. The road is constitutional democracy. And so to build that road, there should be certain elements that must be present in the process of designing the constitution and in the content of the design as well. So, for example, regarding process, there should be popular sovereignty. This means that the constitution should be directly approved by a significant majority of Nigerians, for example, through a referendum. There must be representation, which means that every Nigerian must have the opportunity to contribute to the reform process directly and indirectly. And representation is even more critical when we talk about marginalized groups, such as the urban and rural poor, women, children, ethnic minorities, and religious minorities. And more importantly, there must be legitimacy, that is, the process of constitutional reform must be widely accepted as a product of the society rather than an imposition by a think tank or a select group. And so what you are doing here now with fixed politics is to design a system that guarantees that this popular sovereignty, representation, and legitimacy is present in the constitutional reform process. Now, that doesn't mean all of this is a magic bullet, but it is a start towards the process you want to build. And for instance, we are thinking that in the short term, we will have something such as polls to reach out to people to collect their own aspirations and hopes, and then use what we call citizens' referendum to collect even wider issues on what people will want a constitutional democracy in Nigeria to look like. And then we can use this as a basis for engaging with policymakers and showing them that, look, what we have in Nigeria today in our constitution is radically different from what the people really want. So let me stop here for now, and then
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It seems we still don't have Professor Jega back, but one of the things I want us to round up on are specific action points that you think citizens should do so that they can effectively engage in either constitutional reform or electoral reform. How can the mama in the Oshodi market, in Aba market, be part of that constitutional reform, the changes that we want, and how can we engage them? What are your suggestions? What has the think tank in fixed politics decided or agreed on to actually engage with grassroots all the way to the elite as well? Samson, starting with you, 1 minute, and then Ayo, and then I will round up.
Thank you very much. Given that we're in a state of national election emergency, which I call it, because we're just about 829 days, the National Assembly has indicated that it's going to amend the Electoral Act. And so citizens have a role to do one, call your elected representative and tell them these are the issues you want them to vote on in the electoral amendments. So things like, protecting the integrity and the independence of INEC, electronic transmission of results, electronic voting, diaspora voting, all those issues that we hold very dear. So ask them to do what? To vote yes for that. The National Assembly is going to conduct, a public hearing. We want citizens, to submit memorandum to the National Assembly and participate in the public hearing. The Fixed Politics Initiative is going to submit its own position paper, which will be an aggregate of what citizens, are saying on electoral reform. And the point Ayo made with respect to either through polls gathering citizens' input, we're going to be investing in doing that. And there are existing initiatives. The whole point is the nation needs to know that we are in a national election emergency, that we are spending a lot of money for our elections. We spent 189 billion naira in the 2019 elections, and look at how the elections went. And so for 2023, we need to be active, and our elected representatives who are employees are the go-to people that we should engage in this process.
Thank you. Ayo?
As I noted earlier, a constitution is an agreement by the people. And to pick up from what Samson has just said, while it is important in the short term to look at these electoral issues, especially in light of the fact that elections will always come around whether we plan for them or not, more importantly is still that wider, larger picture of how do we get Nigerians to contribute to a more appropriate constitution for a democracy we want. And because the constitution is not just a policy document to be sent by a committee, and because it is a document, a living record actually, of the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians, it is important that Nigerians should have ownership of any constitutional reform process. And so what I am going to say now is to begin to urge as many Nigerians as are listening to this event right now to begin to think through how they imagine that their country should look like. And more importantly, to begin to demand, to agitate for a better, for a more, a reformed constitution that reflects our own aspirations rather than the aspirations of some military officers. And when enough of us begin to think in this direction, we can then form a critical mass that can allow us to demand that the people who are currently in charge of policy making take steps towards realizing those aspirations. So we as individual Nigerians must begin to own this process. We must stop buying into the rhetoric that the constitution is fine as it is, and that we just need, just to change the people in government. That is the rhetoric that politicians use to just keep recycling the same set of people in power, because again, the destination is constitutional governance, it's a constitutional democracy, but the road has not yet been built. We are the ones who are going to build this road. And so I urge you to join initiatives like this. When you see these questions, polls, referendums asking you, how do you want Nigeria to look like? Please participate and contribute your own opinion on the kind of future that you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I also thank the participants for the various comments that they have put there. We won't be able to take all the questions that have been put up there, but some of them have actually asked our panelists to give input to. So, to summarize, participants need to be involved in the electoral reform. Make sure you get your voters card. Learn more about the Electoral Act. When the Senate calls for public information, please participate. Learn about the Constitution. There are various websites that have the Constitution, including Think Politics. Join Think Politics. Learn about the Constitution and vote. Tell us exactly what area of the Constitution that you want. Think Politics will be rolling out initiatives in this area. Please watch out. Register on the Think Politics website so that you can get this information. Thank you very much. I would now like to call on Dr. Abiola, who is supposed to give us an address on the constitutional reform, constitutional and electoral and political reform. Is Dr. Abiola there? Dr. Abiola? Okay, if she's not there, I think.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, my sister Bumi Lawson. Thank you for an excellent thought-sharing panel. I can see from the chat that colleagues are holding us to our word. We did say we're going to wrap up this conversation today at 4 p.m. And we do recognize that time is of the essence, but you also recognize that we had a few technical challenges here and there that kind of like added to the time budget. But we can assure you that in the next few minutes, we're going to be wrapping up. And therefore, without any further ado, let me invite someone who needs no introduction. Because she wears her heart on her sleeve, and she's very passionate about Nigeria, and she can speak truth to power. To share with us a call to action for the next 5 minutes, please welcome my friend, my sister, my co-traveler, Aisha Yesufu.
Thank you so much, my sister, Dr. Amina Sadiq. The reason why citizens will be shot at in broad daylight, citizens that came out and said that they're tired of being killed under the cover of darkness. The reason that why they'll be shot at in broad daylight and the government would dare to deny that, indeed it's because we have been silent, is because of the fact that we do not participate in politics. It's because of the fact that they know that we are not the ones who put them there, that they are the ones put themselves there. Many of us will at every time turn people away from politics. Many of us at all the time, we look at people, those who come out, those who have competence, character, capacity, those who have empathy, those who stand for us all the time, those who speak not only when it's convenient, but when it is needed. We shame them out of politics. We make fun of them. We say to them that politics is not all about drama. We say to them that what are they doing and yet we have a nation where the child of nobody cannot become somebody without knowing anybody. When the woman who has worked so hard all her life cleaning houses, yet send her children to school, they come out of school and they have no job, and we sit down and we say we do not want to participate in politics. And the reason why all of that happens is because we are afraid. We are afraid to fight our conviction. We are afraid to come out to dare to live. We are afraid to say that indeed we are citizens of this nation and we deserve to have a great life. The life that we have today is not life. Whenever they say to me, are you not afraid to die? I say to them, are you alive? We are not alive as we are right now. This country isn't working the way it is. We need to fix Nigeria. And to fix Nigeria, we have to fix politics. You and I must put our money where our votes are. You and I must look at for all of those candidates who have competence, character, capacity, have empathy, are courageous, are ready to speak truth to power, and ready to face when they too are wrong. You and I must ensure that we put them there. People who are patriotic, people who are not those that will not have nothing, that will have to borrow money to get one, and yet when they get into office, they forget that there are people who are hungry. You and I must begin to do all we can, and the time is now to fix politics. When you say you do not want to waste your vote and you vote for the major parties that you believe are the ones who have structures, guess what? The biggest waste is to vote out of fear rather than out of conviction. The biggest waste is not to know that indeed that we are the structure. We the people are the structure, and we are the ones who will ensure that we have a nation that we're all proud of. Our parents failed us, we failed ourselves, we must not fail the next generation. And to the youth of Nigeria, I say to you, we are all proud of you. You have indeed shown that you are not leaders of tomorrow, you are leaders of today. We were told we are leaders of tomorrow, and we realized that tomorrow never ever came. And so you are the ones who own today. You are the ones that will come out. You are the ones with the numbers. You are the ones that will decide that indeed Nigeria has to get today. And I'm calling to the youth of Nigeria. This is the time to fix politics. This is the time to participate in politics. This is the time to know that you have the intelligence, you have the technology, you have the social media, you have the creativity, you have the age on your side. And this is the time to get us the independence that we truly want. Once upon a time, Nigeria needed to have independence in 1960. And guess what? It was the youth of this nation that took it to get that independence. We need another independence now, and we are calling on most especially you. You have the largest movement, and you need to take us out of it. I'm tired of being a slave in my country. I'm tired of being looked down upon. I'm tired of a nation where they do not realize that no Nigeria is more Nigeria than any Nigeria. And when they see us on the street, they think we are hungry. We are not hungry. We are only angry. Thank you.
How wonderful. Thank you so much, my sister Aisha. Much love. And I can see the comments, they're powerful. They do not need repeating. They are powerful. Full stop. And next, distinguished colleagues, I would like to invite to share a word of thanks as we segue on to the next rendition of this conversation. Another friend and brother and innovator for excellence is always at the core of incubating ideas in young minds. Please welcome Shehu Onigide for the next step and vote of thanks. And Shehu has 5 minutes. My brother Shehu, it's your platform.
Thank you very much. I think so much. I don't know. I have first apologize for this, for all the all the errors that we had, or the technical issues that we had at the beginning of this session. I'm really, really sorry, and we will learn and we will take the feedback. Number one, I want to thank you all. I want to first start my thanks from the attendees. Let me start from that because we do not have an event without the attendees. At the time, we clocked almost 2,000 people, and it was a great joy to see that happen. I want to thank you all. I also want to thank the panel. Thank you so much. Those who, and I will start with those who are not even members of the work study group. I want to thank you so much. I want to thank members of the work study group that are here. I want to thank the media. Thank Arise TV, the AIT, Channel TV, everyone who is part of it. Thank you so much. It's very important for us to understand, and I know that we had some glitches while we were having the session, and I will just give us maybe a background again. Where we are structured is that it's a triangle. We have the empowered electorate. It's on the left side, on the right side. We have the supply side, which is the value-based political class. And then at the top of that, we have the reformed constitution, political and constitutional order. And now that's at the top of everything, which means that the regulator of those what we call institutions are supposed to control and ensure that everything is in the proper state. What we have had is that the supply side has been domineering, has been overwhelming, and they have crippled those institutions. What we need right now is that when all of that fails, the small sector, a small segment, a small number of the empowered electorate, of the demand side has to rise. And they have to rise in unison, they have to rise with their voices loud to demand that the entire system is properly set. And that's what is bringing us to the fixed politics. That's why we have those three pillars, and we have those we call the work study group, which is collegiate of reform-minded, ethical individuals who are working towards objectives that we are fixed within the fixed policy initiatives. And one of the key objectives and where we go next is one, we are going to be launching and we're going to be having the school for the unconventional school for politics, policy, and governance. So that school will be up, and we'll be requesting that you join us. And we're looking for those who are interested in politics, those who want to run for office. And I'm talking about 2023, we're talking about 2027. We're talking about people who believe that politics should serve as the means of service. And we are going to be setting up that we have all your emails that you have joined the session, and we also our website is there, fixedpolitics.org. We also have our social media handle. On Twitter is FixedPoliticsNIG. On Facebook is FixedPoliticsNG. You can be part of all of these platforms and give us feedback as necessary about what needs to be done. So that's going to be a core pillar for the WSG that works on the value-based political class. For WSG1, the Reformed Constitution and Political Order, you have heard what the work study group said. They want to send a memorandum to the National Assembly. They want to ensure that we are also part of the current constitutional reform process. And we also want to work into that. And we have people that can even thematically analyze that for us, like Mr. Ayoshogun, who has constantly made that point that the Nigerian constitutional order needs significant reform. So they will come from that angle. Then we have the empowered electorate. I've looked at the chat box. Everybody talks about grassroots. Everybody talks about getting this movement going viral. That we need a lot of more people on this track. Yes. So that is what we are going to be working for. I'm also part of that group. We'll work with data. We'll work with science. We'll work with stories. We'll work with clusters. So what we are also building the model as a member of the SPPG, which is on the value-based political class, you have also to set up a cluster. You also to localize the initiative, to franchise it out, so that you begin to affect the people in your local communities around your ideals of fixed policy initiatives. So thank you so much for being part of this. We'll definitely send you follow-up emails. We'll definitely engage you, and I will make sure. I want to thank you all, and I say God bless you. Thank you.
Bless you too, my brother. Thank you very much for the clarity of the pathway forward. Because as we adjourn this conversation, it's really not an end. It is the beginning of a journey that we hope to go on together. And thank you so much for your very kind words to all who have played a role today. I'm particularly proud of our participants from all over the world, amazing numbers across the platform. And we must especially thank Her Excellency, the former President, President Joyce Banda, for those kind words. And His Excellency Felipe Calderon of Mexico. Mucho gracias, mucho gracias. We thank you so very much, Your Excellency, for staying up at that hour when everyone in Mexico should be in bed. And it shows that we have got friends and there's solidarity. As it is, you know, in Hausa, it said, we need all hands together. In Yoruba. And there's something that I've always loved. It's an expression in Igbo, and it's the word Nneka. Nneka means mother is supreme. Nigeria is our motherland. It's the only one place that we have got, and we need as much as possible to love it and to reimagine it. To reimagine it by moving away from hierarchies of power, but to rethink the hierarchies of imagination that allows everybody, like Aisha said, to matter. Thank you so very much. We salute you. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today on this journey. This is just the first chapter. Thank you so very much, and good day to you from your part of the neck of the woods. Thank you so much. Over to you, Florence.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we will just have a sign out song, and we will be in touch definitely with everybody who's here, and we'll end with a song of Tiwa Bello, the future. Thank you so much. We're really glad. We're really glad that you are here and you are part of this session. Thanks so much. Or maybe we take Nida Kolo. Yeah.
We stand as a people with one song, with one voice, with a nation undivided and voice. We will take us down and build our land. To defend what is ours. Here we are as the people with one heart for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom, right, and truth prevails, our land, where there's hope for us all. Our land, where there's hope for us all. And we'll get there. So we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in our strength and resolve to uphold the honor of our land and for generations to come, and for generations to come. We are the future.